If India is attacked, the United States will be there to defend it. That was the bold, headline-grabbing promise made by the president. The stage for this declaration was the G7 summit in France. Prime Minister Modi was invited as a guest, standing alongside the core economic members. But there was a catch. American media quickly noted that the president delivered this massive geopolitical commitment as a joke, adding that the U.S. would only intervene as long as Prime Minister Modi remained in power. When public declarations of military loyalty are delivered as diplomatic punchlines, we have to look past the press conferences to see how the U.S.-India partnership actually functions behind closed doors. We can test the reality of this military shield by looking at recent border conflicts. Take the Galwan Valley clash with China. When China mobilized massive military deployments right along the border, the United States military was nowhere to be found. We saw the exact same pattern during Operation Sindoor, when Pakistan began using foreign-supplied drone technology against India. During that escalation, the U.S. once again stayed out of the fray. Early on, Washington even echoed elements of Pakistan's official narrative regarding downed fighter jets, rather than backing New Delhi. The historical record is clear. The American military umbrella does not actually extend to India's regional skirmishes. This lack of direct support takes a darker turn when you look at a specific fatal incident. Unarmed Indian sailors were recently killed by American-made Hellfire missiles. During the summit, a reporter directly confronted the U.S. president about the strike, giving him an open opportunity to offer formal condolences to the grieving families. Instead of an apology, or even a basic acknowledgement of the tragedy, the president completely dodged the question. He offered a generic statement about loving the people, carefully avoiding any admission of fault. This strategy of evasion follows a familiar diplomatic pattern, most notably seen in the UK's long-standing refusal to issue a formal apology for the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. In both cases, officials may acknowledge that a tragedy was unfortunate, but they stop short of an apology to avoid the legal and financial liabilities that come with admitting fault. Maintaining a shield against liability is the true priority here. It overrides the human tragedy of the sailors and any expectation of basic diplomatic accountability. India actively participates in this diplomatic theater. At the exact same summit, the U.S. president boldly claimed he had single-handedly ended 8 separate wars, including a recent conflict between India and Pakistan. The geopolitical reality is that India paused that specific operation entirely on its own terms. The United States did not mediate or force an end to the fighting, yet the Indian Prime Minister sat right next to him as he made this fabrication and chose not to correct the record. India prioritizes the broader strategic partnership over historical accuracy. In this context, letting a false claim stand is a small price to pay for progress on other fronts. That prize is a massive, multi-billion-dollar bilateral trade agreement between the two nations. Behind the scenes, negotiations are already 99% complete. When pressed on the details of this deal, the U.S. president dropped the diplomatic script entirely. He described the Indian Prime Minister as a tough negotiator and a killer when it comes to business. That raw assessment shifts the summit's center of gravity. We are watching a high-stakes corporate negotiation play out under the guise of statecraft. The grand promises of military protection were just a cover. The actual function of the event was to protect an impending financial transaction and keep the other party at the table. Modern U.S.-India diplomacy operates on a strictly transactional basis. The public smiles, the ignored tragedies, and the tolerated historical fictions are simply the necessary currency required to close a billion-dollar deal.
If you value clarity over chaos, explore more on Clear Lens X.